Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. I'm Bill Rice, and joining me today from his beach house in Panama City is Mike Amos. Mike, how you doing?
Oh, it is a beautiful day if you like foggy weather this morning from the beach. And, of course, the beach is beautiful, and we look out over the Gulf of Mexico. And, of course, it's just a great day to be alive and well. And hope you're doing well. Did you have a good weekend?
Had a great weekend playing with all the Christmas toys, eating all the leftover Christmas dinners. The house is kind of a wreck, but I did get the trash out to the street. Today is pickup day in my neighborhood, and I noticed a lot of overflowing Big Blue trash canisters.
One thing you don't want to do is miss garbage day. I promise you. That's very important, Troy.
That's right.
But it's going to be a rainy day today down here. It rained last night quite a bit, and of course overcast weather, but it's beautiful. Anytime you look at the ocean, it's beautiful, and we've got a lot of football games. We got a lot to talk about the weekend. Clemson wins and LSU wins. And, don't you know that is quite an advantage? Do you think the people in New Orleans were excited about LSU coming back to play the championship game?
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, it couldn't have worked out any better for LSU. They got the first seed, so they got to play in Atlanta, and looked like they had a huge crowd in Atlanta, like we knew they would. And now they get to come home to New Orleans, and their football team looks like a juggernaut. They didn't even miss that. I mean, their star running back only played a couple of plays, and they didn't even need him, Mike.
That guy's the best thing since sliced bread, quarterback. I'm telling you, he's really a great player. It's amazing how well he plays with all that pressure on him,
Well, it's a Cinderella story. I mean, he was just considered a mediocre, pretty good quarterback coming into this year, and now he's going to be the first overall pick in the NFL draft. And they're comparing him to Tom Brady.
I was eating at a place the other day. We were talking, and he thought this was his first year. I said, no, he played last year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah, he played last year. Alabama beat him 29-0. He did okay. He was kind of one of these game manager quarterbacks.
Alabama beat him last year 29-0.
Yeah, LSU did not score against Alabama in Baton Rouge.
I'll tell you something else. Let me tell you this. 3 years ago, Troy beat LSU in Baton Rouge.
God, think about that.
That'll tell you how far they've come since they've got that new quarterback.
Well, what do you think about Oklahoma? I think I made a few predictions when Oklahoma made the playoffs. I said, yeah, they'll get blown out in the first round. Boy,
it was like somebody hit him in the head with a sledgehammer. I mean, they were dazed from the get-go, and LSU's pretty good on defense too. Now, I look for this game to be pretty high-scoring game. I would think both teams going to probably score in the 30s. What do you think?
Well, I think LSU's definitely going to score in the 30s against anybody they play. Don't you think Alabama or Auburn would have played LSU much tougher than Oklahoma? So how do you say that Oklahoma is one of the four best teams in America?
There's no question about it. I think Alabama would have put more pressure on the quarterback than Oklahoma did. That was important. If you're going to, and this is what Clemson does well. Clemson blitzes almost every down anyway against anybody, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on the LSU quarterback. And what I'm saying, that old saying that you can't hit, you can't score when your quarterback's butts on the ground every down. That's pretty much the way it's got to be. They'll put all kinds of pressure on.
I did notice that they blitz all the time. Did you see who made the game-winning play for Clemson?
Let me tell you this, and a lot of people have not read into this, but I sure have, and I like to start it off. Ladies and gentlemen, the young man that intercepted the pass from on the last play of the game that gave pretty much gave Clemson the victory, was a young man named Turner. And what's his first name?
Nolan Turner.
What was it?
Nolan, Nolan, Nolan Turner.
Yeah, Nolan Turner, and he is the son of Kevin Turner, the former Alabama great, who played at Alabama, was a great player, and later on played in the pros, and then fought a tremendous battle against Lou Gehrig's disease, which everybody everywhere in the country knows pretty much who Kevin Turner was. Well, Kevin Turner was the roommate of the Clemson head coach in college, and when it came to recruiting, he took Nolan Turner, and instead of Alabama and Auburn taking him, he gave him a shot, and sure enough, he played a lot in that football game, and the rest is history, and you could write a book about it.
I remember when Dabo and Kevin became good friends. I think Dabo was a year or two older than Kevin, but they still became good friends.
I was going to say they were roommates, though. Is that true?
They might have been. I'm sure their careers overlapped, but Turner finished with Bill Curry, and then Dabo finished with Gene Stallings, so they weren't the same class.
Yeah.
But they might have been roommates, though.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this about Kevin Turner. No player anywhere. There have been some great players and some real tough players, but I don't know if there was ever a tougher football player than Kevin Turner was. And there's son playing safety for the best football team in America. It'll tell you a lot right there, won't it?
Well, it also tells you, I remember when Dabo gave that scholarship to Nolan, and you thought, well, he's just doing it out of friendship for the father and taking care of the son,
Right,
to give him a free education. Matter of fact, he got that scholarship right before Kevin Turner passed away. So Kevin knew that his son was going to be taken care of by Dabo.
Yeah.
Well,
Amazing.
but it turns out that he's a very good football player to boot. So that he wasn't just giving it.
And of course, he's a good-looking kid too.
Looks like his daddy.
You could write a book about him. Of course, Kevin Turner was a good-looking guy, too.
He was almost going to be the GOAT. The Ohio State took the lead on a pass play.
Hey, yeah, you're right. They just got through telling him off. Then the coach say he got on him real hard, and then later on told him he's going to have a big play before it's all over.
I love that quote. That shows you Dabo's coaching ability. He said, "Now quit pouting. You're going to make the interception that's going to win this ball game." Is exactly what he told him.
That's what he said.
And that's what happened.
You could. It was a fairy tale, and you could write a children's book about that. That's what you ought to do. You ought to write a children's book about it.
I tell you, you could write a movie or a book about the Kevin Turner situation and his family situation.
Yeah.
I
remember Bobby Skelton told me one time, Bobby played with your dad in Alabama, and of course I think he was a year ahead of your dad, and missed out on the. Well, maybe I don't know if he played on national team.
No, you're right. He was a junior when the.
But Bobby, Bobby was a good friend of mine, and we worked together. And he used to tell the story about Alabama and Georgia Tech, and they were playing in Atlanta, and Georgia Tech went ahead, and it was pretty late in the fourth quarter. Actually fairly early in the first quarter. Bobby came in and he called his own play, and you don't do that under Bear Bryant, calling your own play. And when he got to the sideline, evidently the play didn't work. And when he got to the sideline, Coach Bryant said, "Skelton, you go over there and sit down right there. You have played your last down of football at the University of Alabama." Well, that's the worst day of Skelton's life. So he walks down to the end of the bench and he sits down, and Alabama late ball game. Alabama trailed, and I think Trammell got hurt. You heard that story. Trammell got hurt, and he looked down. They said, "Skelton, come here." And Bobby said he wanted him. He said he was scared of him. He said, "Listen, I'm gonna give you one more chance to play quarterback at Alabama." And sure enough, he went in there and threw the winning touchdown.
That's a great.
And he said he'd been telling
I love that story. You get one more chance. That's what happened. But Dabo didn't give up on Nolan Turner.
It's coming from Dabo, and he was a very emotional guy, and it's no question who he honors the most, and that's Jesus Christ, and of course he talks about that through all the talk after the ball game. Have you ever seen a longer victory celebration of the network? Have you ever seen that? It lasted over an hour almost. Did you know that?
Well, I watched about 5 minutes of it, and it was past my bedtime, so I guess
they kept talking about it for over an hour, and it went into the.
Hey, let me put you on hold and see if I can get Mike. If I disconnect you, call back. Mm-hmm. Oh.
Hey, come here. Hey,
Let's see, hold. Oh. I'm trying to get them on the air, everybody. Hold on. Mike, are you there?
I'm on.
No, I'm trying to get your dad. Let's see. Flashing. Hold on, Mike. I'm trying to get both of y'all on.
you got me.
I know, but I can't get both of you. Hold on. You're back on.
The top to the hold to back to the top.
Oh, let's see. We got to do conference. Yeah. Put on
Conference, hold, and conference.
Conference, hold. Conference, hold. Hold. All right, I think I got both of y'all now, finally. Everybody there?
So let's see. Am I on, Mike? Are you on?
Yeah, you got me.
All right, we're talking about the Clemson Ohio State game, which was by far the better playoff game. Not much competition for that prize.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are being critical of the SEC officiating crew. There was definitely a lot of calls that kind of went against Ohio State, and I mean, I'll be honest, I thought Ohio State was probably the better team, but Clemson found a way to win it at the end. 28-29 straight. Just like Jay Barker says on his show down here, he calls them the Clemson Tide. So Dabo Swinney has a chance to win his third national championship. Of course, the game was won by Nolan Turner, the Vestavia High School product, and of course, everybody knows his dad was the great Kevin Turner. He passed away a few years ago, and Alabama didn't even offer, and he's been starting safety at Clemson the last 2 years.
You know, they didn't even talk about on the air that I heard that he was the son of Kevin Turner. Sometimes I'm muted. Did they mention who he was?
I was at a loud establishment down on 30A, and I didn't get to hear the volume of what was going on. But I don't know if they mentioned his name or not.
Well, it seems like it would be a great human interest story, and they didn't even mention it.
Like you would think.
What'd you say, Dad?
Of course, was he an actual starter, Mike, or was he a backup?
No, he's been starting the last couple of years at safety.
Yeah.
I think last year he was kind of in the rotation as the secondary, and this year he's a every down starter.
Well, I tell you what, he's a good-looking kid, and you could tell that like the fanfare was just unbelievable after that game for Clemson. Does Alabama want Clemson to win this game? If they win this game, that would be how many? 31 in a row?
It'll be 30 in a row and 3 national championships in what? 4 years or 5 years?
3 major college records.
Yeah.
For wins. Before it's all over with. Don't you know that? And I don't know if Alabama people want to see that.
I agree with you, Mike. Yeah. They're getting ready to beat some of Alabama's records.
They want to see Alabama have those long winning streaks. They don't want to see another team.
I'll tell you what I've been impressed with is I had had no idea Trevor Lawrence could run like that.
Me either.
Yeah,
I think Trevor Lawrence is already a great thrower. If he can run like that, I may imagine NFL scouts are just drooling.
I tell you what, I know people say, "Oh gosh, are you gonna throw that up? Are you gonna throw that up?" Yes, I'm gonna throw it up. Boy, if he'd only cut his hair, man, he'd be a sharp kid.
You know, Mike,
Cut his hair.
I saw a picture of him when he was in high school. He had a crew cut, and he looked good with that crew cut.
I thought that was bad until I saw a kid that playing basketball against Auburn yesterday that had the worst hairdo of anybody I have ever seen in my life. Did you see that?
No, did Auburn win?
Yeah, Auburn beat what's the little team from Nashville?
They made David Lipscomb.
Who?
Lipscomb.
Auburn is undefeated in basketball after finishing in the Final Four. And, well, they got to the national championship game, or they should have got to the national championship game. Now they're undefeated. Lost several key players, and they're still undefeated.
They're really doing well, no question about it. Of course,
one of the worst
day in L.A., and I hope everybody's enjoying this morning. A beautiful day down here in the Gulf of Mexico, and I'm sure it is in Troy, Alabama.
Well, it's kind of gray and overcast.
This show is sponsored by the Panama City Beach Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, is that? Yeah, that would be a good one.
Are there a lot of people down there for the New Year's?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. It's
packed.
It's just all kinds of people down here, and we've been out and about. Most every restaurant we've been to has been packed.
How about that?
I went to the Publix on 30A in between Seaside and Watercolor last night. It was a driving rainstorm, so I'm thinking it'd be quick to go there and nobody'd be there. There was probably 400 people in there.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if I had a beach house and you had this long break or vacation, I would use my beach house. So that's what people are doing.
Well, when
you have a Troy Cable security system like we do, and 2 attack dogs and security guards around Crow Hill, you can go on vacation.
All right.
Yeah. Just don't challenge anybody there.
Well, I mean, do you want a challenge after I said all that?
My little granddaughter, Macon, came in last night, and we're excited about her being down here. And she looked over there at the Christmas tree and said, "You're supposed to put that up. You're supposed to put that up." And I said, "No, we're going to leave it up for a while."
I'm taking mine down tomorrow.
The end of possibly the worst coaching hire in NFL history ended yesterday. Freddie Kitchens, the former Alabama quarterback, was fired from the Cleveland Browns after going 6-10.
I think they should have gave him more of a chance.
I don't know. He had a lot of talent on that team to go 6-10.
Yeah.
How did A.J. McCarron do? I didn't catch the second half of that game in the Texans.
He threw for about 230, I think, and 1 interception. But, he was playing with, a lot of backups. A lot of starters weren't playing.
They lost the game, too, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Derrick Henry went off and rushed for 217 yards. And
he ran on one big long run.
He's now the Russian champion in the NFL this year. So great job, Derrick Henry led the league in rushing.
1,000 yards?
No, it's just like 1,550. But they don't use running backs a lot in the NFL anymore.
That's good. He almost averaged 100 yards a game, which is good.
Yeah.
I fell asleep in the second half of that game. AJ, he hadn't started a game in about 4 years probably, and he looked pretty good in the first half throwing the ball.
I think the right situation, he could play, no question about it. But this is today in L.A., and we're speaking to you from our studios actually on South Frontage Street right here in Troy. And, of course, Bill Rice is the head guy right now, and he's running it from that end. And Mike Amos is down at Great Beach, and Big Mike, yours truly, is talking to you from West Panama City Beach. So it's a great day to be a Trojan, and of course, a great day to talk football. Talk back to the game. I'll tell you one of the biggest plays in the game, and Mike, you're going to get a kick out of this. When what was the kid's name? That great running back for he was outstanding for Ohio State.
No, Dobbins.
Yeah, Dobbins, when he broke loose the second time. You remember that safety that came out of nowhere and ran him down?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? That could have been the biggest play of the game. Because they ended up having to kick a field goal.
Oh, yeah.
He stopped them on the 6-yard line, and Clemson defense came in there and stopped them. And
I thought Ohio State was going to win the game. That was just a horrible throw by Justin Fields. I mean,
yeah. I tell you what, though, he was good. Didn't you think he was good?
oh yeah, I watched him several times.
I tell you, he's going.
That's what makes me worry about. That's what makes me worry about Michigan and Alabama. You know, Michigan was just blowing out everybody, and they played Ohio State really tough in that first half. I watched a lot of that game, and Ohio State ended up blowing them out. But the Big Ten, if you're watching the bowl games, is really good.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of y'all watched Iowa the other night against USC, but golly, they were dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And
who won that game?
Iowa beat USC by 25 points, 49-24.
Did they really?
Man, scored 49 points all year. And then Michigan State won their ball game. Penn State just manhandled Memphis up front. I was shocked. I think they ran for 450 yards and beat a really good Memphis team, 53-39. And Memphis has a new coach, but I'm worried about the Alabama game against Michigan. I got a bad feeling about that one for some reason.
Yeah. Of course, Alabama goes up against Michigan on New Year's Day. That'll be a 1 o'clock kickoff. Is that Eastern or Central time?
I think it's noon our time.
Noon our time. So both of them go off at noon. Auburn plays Minnesota, and they'll be playing that game from Tampa. That is also a noonday game. So, hey, you better have 2 TVs in the room, or you switcher going back and forth, I reckon.
That's right.
Do you still feel like Auburn's the lock of the bowl season?
I like them. I still like them, but you don't know. This would be a good opportunity for Auburn to win 10 ball games, and of course Alabama against Michigan. You're right. I'm wondering how hard Michael, how hard Alabama will play. I would think that Michigan would be more fired up about playing Alabama than Alabama being fired up about playing Michigan. What do you think?
Well, I was listening to a press conference. Coach Saban doesn't let his coordinators talk during the season, and Pete Golding, the young defense coordinator, was speaking, and then Sarkisian was talking about the season, and Golding really harped on the young linebackers, how that really affected his defense throughout the year, and pretty much said it changed everything. And it's one of those type things that those guys are experienced now. But if you could have Dylan Moses come back and Josh McMillan, and then they have probably one of the best recruiting classes ever for linebackers. Alabama should be in really good shape next year on defense. But interesting with Golden, you got Charles Kelly, who was defense coordinator at Florida State, and at Tennessee on that staff, and you got Sal Sinceri, who's been on several different staffs at Alabama and other places, and then Bob Stoops' brother, Mark Stoops, I think is his name, is on staff as an analyst. It's amazing that Saban has this much confidence in this young coordinator. I was kind of thinking they might make a change.
And the another guy that's the one of the analysts, Mike, is the former. Let's see, where did he coach?
Tennessee's coach is on there, Butch Jones,
Tennessee's coach, yeah.
And then Major Applewhite's an analyst as well.
I thought,
You gotta.
Michael, I thought Butch Jones got hired as somebody's head coach. Did he not?
Yeah, he lost the Colorado State job to Steve Adazio.
Oh, he was in the running. I got it.
A.J. McCarron yesterday went 21 for 36 for 225 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. He ran for 39 yards and a touchdown.
So.
Good.
And then Derrick Henry ran for 200 plus yards. Good deal.
And then AJ got to go home to his wife, so AJ won all around.
That movie star wife of his, is that right?
That's right.
If you can be a 10-year backup in the NFL, you're going to do okay. It's like Jeff Rutledge.
He makes $5 million a year.
5? No way.
Yeah, I'm almost positive.
A.J. McCarron makes
You better double check that. No way.
I think so. I think that's his contract.
Running back.
Maybe his total contract was $5 million over 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, let me look and see.
Who y'all talking about?
If you can make $5 million as a backup that's never even really started, I'm in the wrong profession.
A.J. McCarron makes that kind of money?
Well, Michael's checking it.
Let's see.
Like it's our business.
Well, we got 2 SEC versus Big Ten showdowns of Alabama and Auburn and Minnesota and Michigan. And Michael says
I would think that Alabama's playing on the ABC network tomorrow night. I don't want people get confused. Auburn's playing on the ESPN network. But on ABC, that means everybody in the country's got a TV can watch it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Let's see. In 2017, he signed with the Bills and agreed to a 2-year, $10 million contract with the Bills that included $6.5 million in available bonuses. So that's what he made with the Bills. Let me see what he's making right now.
Well, he never even stayed with the Bills. He didn't play 1 year with the Bills, so they traded him or cut him.
Yeah, there's all kinds of bonuses and incentives.
Yeah.
Well, he's doing okay.
Well, let's just say that. Go ahead.
AJ could buy Christmas presents and buy supper for everybody.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, who else did well? Derrick Henry did well. Any other Alabama, Auburn, or Troy players do anything yesterday in the NFL?
I'll have to look and see.
What about Kenyon Drake? He was doing well.
Yeah, with the Cardinals, I'll have to check that out. Of course, we got a lot of games today as well. In the pros yesterday, the Eagles won the NFC East, so they're in the playoffs. Dallas had a miserable season. I would expect Jason Garrett to get fired.
Well, they won though, didn't they?
Yeah, but they finished 8-8. Eagles made it to the playoffs. Dallas didn't even make the playoffs. Very disappointing season. Seattle was losing last night to San Francisco. I don't know who won.
Yeah. Everybody was thinking that San Francisco would win. I tell you that the big one today. I want to say this is today. Is that when Kentucky plays?
I'll have to look and see. San Francisco beat Seattle 26-21.
Who does? What was that final score? What was the final score with Seattle?
Kentucky plays tomorrow.
26-21.
Okay, all right. Today, like Mike said, you got tell us who's playing.
Yeah, you got Western Kentucky, Western Michigan, which I'll be glued to my television. I'll try to take off work for that. Let's see. You got Illinois, California, another game I'll try to take off work for. Good game tonight. If you like Florida, they'll destroy Virginia. The line's 14.5 in the Orange Bowl. And then locally in my house, this game is actually earlier, even though it was later on the board. Mississippi State, Louisville, and that'll be a tough game to pick. Mississippi State's 5.5-point favorite against Louisville in the City Bowl in Nashville.
Yeah.
I would imagine Louisville will probably have as many fans as Mississippi State in Nashville.
How many fans, Alabama and Auburn fans, do you think will be down at those bowl games?
I'll say that Alabama will probably bring 25,000.
Really? I bet they might bring 15, 20.
God, hey, listen, that is a lot of Alabama fans. I just don't believe.
I know, but that's an easy trip to make, though.
I haven't heard anybody going.
Well, you got a lot of local alumni, I imagine, will show up for that game.
That's what.
You know, if somebody walked up to me and gave me 2 50-yard tickets, I might go, but I don't know. In a box somewhere, I might go.
These
These
bowl game attendances have been about what I thought, which is awful. Did you see the Cotton Bowl? It looked like even nobody was in the upper deck in the whole stadium. Just remember how big these games used to be?
Well, I think what you have in favor of Alabama is you got a lot of people doing Disney World and making the trip.
Yeah.
I bet it. I bet they'll be in the whole. I bet there'll be 50,000 at the game. If that'd be a good attendance. Auburn, Minnesota, probably roughly the same. In other words, there'll be 20,000 empty seats.
I would think the people from Minnesota would be excited about coming to a warm climate.
Yeah.
You know, it is cold. I mean, it is really cold up there. This would be a great opportunity for them to get out of the house.
And it's a big deal for Minnesota to play in a big bowl game.
In history. Minnesota had one of their worst storms in history. Minneapolis area.
Of course, the coldest game you ever went to in your life, you said, was in Nashville at the Music City Bowl when Alabama got beat by Virginia Tech. When did that?
In fact, your mama can hear us from there. We were fine until the people in front of us left, and then the sleet just like to put us away. It sleeted, and Alabama was getting beat bad. So for the first time in my memory, we got in the car and left, went back to the Opryland Hotel and watched the rest of the slaughter, and it was a slaughter. Virginia Tech just wore Alabama out.
I heard some disturbing intelligence about that game. It was secondhand, so I don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
But I understand. I've been told that a lot of Alabama players were out partying the night before that game, if you can believe it.
It might have been. Let's go to take a break. Brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass right here in Troy, Alabama, and also our good friends at Bird Drugs. No better place to eat breakfast this morning than Bird Drugs on the corner in downtown Troy. We'll be back with more of Today in L.A.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
At Marguerite's, we've been designing and crafting custom jewelry for 4 generations. It's an art for master jewelers. There's really no room for error. It doesn't matter how big the diamond is. You don't expect anything less than perfection. What matters is quality, beauty, and value. After all these decades, your engagement ring is still our greatest pride. Marguerite's exquisite jewelry.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Know-how, Napa Know-how. Big discounts, big selection, and really big deals. It's the big pre-owned sale. Only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pre-owned vehicles start at $29.95. Over 50 vehicles under $15,000. $29 down. And you can drive today or take advantage of payments starting at $99 a month. That's $29 down. And payments starting as low as $99. From Montgomery to Dothan, the best pre-owned deal are Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or online at PremierChrysler.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
All right, we are now back on Today in L.A. The two Amoses are at the beach, one in Grayton Beach, one in Panama City Beach. We've been talking about football, as you might imagine, but there's a lot more going on, and then there's sad news, unfortunately. Michael, you were telling us off the air that the reaction to the loss of John Johnson has been tremendous on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, I read quotes and comments from Coach Blakeney, who was a part of Coach Blakeney's last signing class, and then Neil Brown was devastated by the news and talked about what a great kid he was, and how great he was for his team, and Derek Irons, John played on 2 of those state championship teams, and talked about how phenomenal he was and how clutch he was, and I read articles and quotes from Austin Ingram, the quarterback, and teammate on the baseball team and quarterback on the football team. And, people are devastated. It turns out the motorcycle crash happened in Jacksonville, Florida. And, a lot of people were just telling different stories about what a wonderful kid he was and all the different, games, baseball, basketball, football that, they watched him play in. And he always had a smile on his face, what a great kid he was. And 24 years old.
Oh gosh, just.
Yeah, no question about it. You know,
And then we had, speaking of tragedy, the other tragedy that got a lot of national attention was the airplane crash in Lafayette, Louisiana, that claimed 5 victims, including the daughter-in-law of LSU's offensive coordinator, who was
Steve Ensminger. That was actually reported right before the start of the game, and you could see him on the field crying. I mean, it was awful to have to see that.
she was actually a sports reporter herself.
She's a TV journalist. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
I read she was 2-time first runner-up in Miss Louisiana. She was a beautiful young lady.
Yeah.
30 years old.
I didn't realize one of the young ladies that was killed in the accident in Geneva, one of the cheerleaders, was also Charles Henderson head football coach Brad McCoy's niece. Sadness all around right now. It's absolutely horrible what's been going on.
Well, we had a motorcycle crash, a car crash, and a airplane crash. Mm.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
This time of year, yeah. This holiday season too.
I know that is just I hate that, and of course I hate it for all of them. And of course, knowing Brad, kind of person he is, he's strong. I know that, but it's hard to be strong when something like that happens.
My wife told me that NBC News ran a feature on the tragedy in Geneva, national NBC News.
Oh yeah, on Christmas Day, the 3 girls got in the car. 5 girls were in the car, wasn't they?
5.
Yeah, I think one is still in critical condition.
Yeah.
You know that.
You wanted to hear the bowl wrap up on so far? Is that what you wanted to hear?
Let us know, and we're gonna jump around like we always do, ladies and gentlemen, and fill you in on all of this information that's coming out of Charles Henderson High School about John Johnson and other things. Go ahead and let me know how they came out, Mike.
The season started with the Buffalo-Charlotte game. Buffalo blew them out 31-9. Kent State, the alma mater of the great Nick Saban, won 51-41 over Utah State. Then one of the powerhouses, North Carolina A&T, beat Alcorn State 64-44. Central Michigan played San Diego State. San Diego State dominated 48-11. Big upset here. Liberty
Central Michigan beat them 48-11. Beat San Diego State.
No, San Diego State beat them 48-11.
Let's go back to the Alcorn State game. Deserves some comments. 64-44. Who had the over/under at 109 points in that one?
The over/under in Vegas was 51. The over/under in Vegas was 51, and the line was 3.5. So everybody was jumping all over North Carolina A&T at 3.5.
110 points were scored in that game.
Then the great Liberty, who shot Liberty Balance, the great Hugh Freeze, beat Georgia Southern 23-16. Florida Atlantic, shocking win here. Lane Kiffin is at Ole Miss. You got an interim coach. SMU, has won 10 games, scoring a lot of points. Florida Atlantic wins 52-28.
Who got that job, Mike? The Florida Atlantic job? Do you know?
Your favorite coach from Florida State, Willie Taggart.
Taggart got that job.
Yep.
He's got a.
Your favorite coach from South Florida before him, Jim Lovett, is his defense coordinator.
Taggart's got the best rabbit's foot in the world.
Yeah, he's got a lot of jobs. For not having a winning record.
Yep.
Then a very emotional win in Montgomery. Great emotional win. Arkansas State beats FIU 34-26. Then great win for Chris Peterson in Washington. They destroyed Boise State 38-7. That just tells you the difference in leagues. Boise wins the Mountain West, goes 12-1. Washington was mediocre in the Pac-12, went 7-5, and they win 38-7. So I'll tell you something there.
That's right.
And Appalachian State, what a phenomenal program Appalachian State is. They finished 13-1. They beat UAB 31-17. UAB finishes 9-5. But great year for App State in the Sun
What was
Belt.
that final score again?
31-17.
27. Okay.
No, 31-17. 31-17. And then you had Central Florida. They destroyed Marshall, Woody McGay, 48-25. Then you had very controversial game. Here, I'll watch this. BYU had a touchdown. I felt like that was taken off the board, and a lot of people think they made a field goal that was taken off the board. They get beat by Hawaii 38-34. And then you had Louisiana Tech. I picked this upset as well. Miami fires Dan Enos, who had great success at Alabama. He's fired after 1 year as offense coordinator at Miami. La Tech wins 14-0.
Let's talk about that one, if you don't mind me interrupting. That guy was slated to be the offensive coordinator at Alabama, I think. He was the quarterback coach for Tua. He would have been the offensive coordinator for Tua in his second year starting at Alabama with all the offensive weapons Alabama had. And for some reason, he just bolts, goes to Miami, and he's fired after 1 year.
But he wasn't the head coach, though, was it?
No, he was the offensive coordinator.
Manny Diaz is the head coach. But Enos used to be the offense coordinator at Arkansas, and he used to be the head coach at Central Michigan. He's a guy that did something extremely rare. He was a head coach at Central Michigan, but left to be an offense coordinator at Arkansas.
Yeah.
That's like Chan Gailey left as head coach at Troy to be the special teams coach for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, well, they had to pay more money at the Broncos.
Oh, yeah. A block, probably.
Pittsburgh beat Eastern Michigan 34-30. That was a surprising score. Pittsburgh was a huge favorite. And then I have to give credit where credit is due. Matt Brown has shocked me in North Carolina. He goes 7-6. The old man, 69 years old. I thought he was, done with coaching. I thought it was a horrible hire. And he beats a pretty good Temple team, 55-13.
Yeah.
Then D'Antonio, Michigan State, another surprising win. Wake Forest of the ACC goes down 27-21 to Michigan State.
Wasn't surprising to me.
21.
27-21 Michigan State. And then this was a shocking start. A&M and Jimbo Fisher were getting beat 14-0 by Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State looked like they were just going to blow them out, and A&M found a running game, and Kellen Mond made some huge runs. And A&M actually kind of went comfortably 24-21. Oklahoma State scored late with a few seconds left to make it more interesting. A&M 24-21.
A&M beat
SEC beats the Big 12, the number 25 Oklahoma State. Texas A&M was better than people. Texas A&M also, that blowout to LSU doesn't look so bad anymore after what LSU.
Yeah, then another shocking score here to me. We talked about it earlier. Iowa was a 2.5-point favorite at kick. It went to 2 for USC. Everybody was jumping on USC. And they just manhandled USC 49-24. They knocked out Keenan Slovis.
24.
The starting quarterback from USC got knocked out in the second half, and USC was never the same again.
Hey, Alabama opens with USC next year, don't they?
Why now?
Alabama opens the season next year in Jerry World against USC.
Yeah, after the game, Clay Helton, I guess, tried to save his job again and fired both his coordinators.
That's not funny, but that's just the way it works, I reckon.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure what they said it's either you or them, and I'm sure that's where it came down.
And then, kind of a surprise to me. I mean, kind of a surprise to me. Air Force, Washington State. Air Force, of course, had won 10 games, and I tell you what, they just manhandled Washington State. I watched some of that game as well. Air Force wins easily, 31-21 against Washington State. And then games of the weekend, Notre Dame, Dad's favorite team, won 33-9 over Iowa State.
I told you, though, how many times did I tell y'all that Notre Dame was playing a lot better?
A lot. Yeah, you're right.
That line was only 3.5. Penn State survives against a really good Memphis team, 53-39. I think in normal coaches in that game, Memphis might win.
Did y'all see what happened after that game?
What?
They poured Gatorade on the coach.
Oh, he tackled the player?
Evidently, yes, sir. And let me tell you something. It wasn't no nice thing either. I mean, he turned around and he knocked the devil out of that player that put that ice on him. He really did. He was mad. You could tell.
Yeah, pinned him to the ground.
So what he did, the player throws the Gatorade on the coach, and of course it's freezing up there in New York. You know it was.
They're playing in a dome, though. They're playing in a dome.
Instead of hitting him with a fist, he hit him with a shoulder like you would believe.
They're playing in a dome in the Cotton Bowl.
Oh.
Never mind.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
wrong team.
But no, you had the right team. You had the right team. That happened. Penn State's James Franklin went and dove and knocked the player on the ground that threw the water bucket on him.
Yeah.
I thought they were just playing, but you saying he wasn't playing.
I think they're playing
It
too.
looked
I don't
like he
think.
was playing. Hey, no, he's not. Let me tell you something. He hit that boy, that young man, like you wouldn't believe. You tell him.
Let me take mine and see what it does.
But it was unusual.
All right, then LSU, unbelievable line here. 12 was the line, but 75.5 over-under, which is one of the highest I can ever remember. And it went way over. LSU just dominates, and then the game
Let's stop there and talk about it again a little bit. Did Hurt play well at all?
Well, he was running for his life when I watched it.
He was so-so.
Why now?
He threw for about 220 yards and ran for about 50 or 60. He was a non-factor. I don't think he had one interception, I believe. Ran for 2 touchdowns.
What was that score in the first quarter? At the end of the first quarter?
21-7.
I think so.
Yeah. So it was.
It was over with at the half. At the half, it was 49-21.
Yeah.
I think that line might have moved real fast right before kickoff because of that airplane crash, and the thinking being that the offensive coordinator can't have his mind on calling the game.
Well, let's be honest. He doesn't call the games. The young guru calls the games, Joe Brady. I mean, let's be honest. Ensminger, I think, is there to maybe chime in, but the phenom is the young guy that came from the Saints, Brady.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about Ed Springer. He has Parkinson's disease. He was the offensive coordinator. I don't even think he's considered an offensive coordinator anymore, is he?
Maybe in name only.
No, he didn't have Parkinson's disease. The guy that was at Louisville that went to LSU has Parkinson's. Cragforth.
All right, okay. Well, I know one of them has Parkinson's disease. Yeah.
Yeah, Cragforth does.
Yeah.
Then Clemson won 29-23. That line was 2.5. Clemson was the favorite. Over-under did not hit. Over-under was 62.
Yeah. Do you think Clemson can stop LSU?
I think they could stop them a little bit. I don't think enough to win the game.
You know, that was what I said earlier in the show, ladies and gentlemen, and I still mean it. Alabama and Oklahoma and Ohio State and all the top 5 teams in the country, Auburn, you want to throw them in there if you want to, does not need for Clemson to win another national championship and extend that winning streak. I mean, that's worse than their schedule is that Clemson could end up winning 40 or 50 games in a row, Mike. The quarterback stays.
Alabama doesn't have any good record for winning streaks. Alabama's greatest winning streak record is 28. Oklahoma has the winning streak record, but what's going to hurt Alabama fans if Clemson wins 3 national championships in 4 years. Has Alabama done that under Saban? I don't think they have. 3 in 4 years. They did 3 in 5 years.
They did 5 in 9 years.
And Dabo will be considered the greatest coach that ever lived, y'all. If he went 3 straight, will it be 3 straight? Yeah.
No, it'd be 2 straight.
2 straight.
See, Alabama beat Kelly Bryant, blew him out, and then Alabama, won against Georgia.
Don't you agree with me that this will hurt the other team's programs a little bit?
Well, then the other side of that, Mike, is that if LSU wins, that's going to give their program a big boost, and Alabama competes against LSU and Auburn.
I know it, but LSU winning like that, but somebody's going to beat them later on. But see, I'm afraid the schedule. If you looked at Clemson's schedule, and it would be interesting to look at it, see who they play next year, and they might have won 40 games by the time.
Oh, there's no doubt. Well, Trevor Lawrence has to come back. The only way
he does have to come back.
Yeah, he's a sophomore. He's a pure sophomore.
All right, so he has to come back.
So yeah, if they win, they will easily win it 40 straight.
Yeah. Let me tell you something I thought.
Dabo Swinney will go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time if he wins a national championship.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I hope he's the next coach at Alabama.
I don't see there's any way he would leave what he's built at Clemson.
Let me answer this.
Too much pressure. Too much pressure to take the Alabama job.
Now this is silly for me to say, but did you see how he was pushing his defensive coordinator around? Did y'all notice that?
They were just playing around,
He was knocking the heck out of him, Mike.
I know, it was like emotional. They were excited about winning the game.
But this was before the game was over. This was during the game. He was pushing. He evidently got mad with him about something.
I think that's when they were celebrating at the end of the game. I saw him pushing him.
Yeah, they were playing.
I saw it during the game, and I saw it at the end of the game. And boy, that might get the way they celebrate. I don't know.
Brett Venables is a phenomenal defensive coordinator. I mean, that's why he makes about $2.8 million a year.
Hey, let me tell y'all about the bowl games we went through.
Pretty good, isn't it?
I think there's been 23 bowl games so far. On Sports Radio 740, you can play their bowl contest and go to a website and pick all the games. But ESPN manages that website. And so you can keep up with the scores of everybody that's playing in the Montgomery-Troy area. Like I'm in 50th place out of about 300 people that are playing it. I've got 16 out of 22, right? But there are two guys that are tied in Montgomery that have only missed 2. So they're like 20 for 22. That's amazing. And in America, so you can play against everybody in America on the ESPN site. There's like 3 or 4, there's 5 or 6 people that are a perfect 22 for 22 so far. And
I wonder how many you fill out.
There's 41 total games, and though there were.
Can you do more than one bracket? I wonder on Bowl Mania.
I think you probably could sneak if you use somebody else's name or password. You could.
Let me just tell you something. I'm gonna stop worrying about this win streak. There's no question in my mind that LSU is going to beat Clemson. LSU will beat them 2, maybe 3 touchdowns.
Well, the line is 6.5 right now.
I tell you what, jump all over LSU. LSU is going to kill them. I think this pressure of 3 national championships is going to get to the Clemson team. And then at the same time, I'll say this. I didn't think Clemson looked that good, in my opinion. I didn't think they played that well. What do you think about that?
Ohio State was really good.
What?
Ohio State was really good.
And I will tell you this, that he ran the ball very well, but I did not think that Lawrence threw the ball that well at all in that game. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. He didn't throw it as well as you would have thought. And the receivers kept getting hurt, those big receivers they have.
And he got knocked on the ground quite a few times, too, so it looked like the offensive line for Clemson wasn't quite as good as it's been being, in my opinion.
But some of that might have been Ohio State's really good on defense. Hard to say. That was you can see how important it was to be the number 1 seed.
Let me just say this. Trevor Lawrence has never lost a game in high school, and he's never lost a game in college.
There you go.
Isn't that amazing? I tell you what, let's take a break. We'll be right back with more of Today in L.A. All right, Ryan, you on?
No, we're still on. Steve, we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes. So thank you for watching Today in L.A.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
At Marguerite's, we've been designing and crafting custom jewelry for 4 generations. It's an art for master jewelers. There's really no room for error. It doesn't matter how big the diamond is. You don't expect anything less than perfection. What matters is quality, beauty, and value. After all these decades, your engagement ring is still our greatest pride. Marguerite's exquisite jewelry.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Know-how, Napa Know-how. Big discounts, big selection, and really big deals. It's the big pre-owned sale. Only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pre-owned vehicles start at $29.95. Over 50 vehicles under $15,000. $29 down. And you can drive today or take advantage of payments starting at $99 a month. That's $29 down. And payments starting as low as $99. From Montgomery to Dothan. The best pre-owned deal are at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or online at PremierChrysler.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Isn't seeing this picture of this?
All right, we're back on. Wait, we were talking off there like we do. We're now back on Today in L.A., and let's start talking for real on the record. What were you saying, Mike?
I was just saying it's just amazing. I was looking. There was a shooting at a church in Texas, and it turns out an ex-FBI agent was in the service and was able to take down the gunman within seconds. But it's amazing. There's a picture of this on Fox News right now.com to see what kind of world we live in right now, where this is seen on the church camera. There's a picture of all this going down. Unbelievable.
You can watch the shooting as it went down.
Yeah, you can see it.
Nobody
right
was killed in that incident, though, was he? Was nobody killed?
I think Texas gunman kills 2.
A policeman was killed.
No, gunman kills 2 of the parishioners, yeah.
Well, thank God that there was somebody that had a weapon that could fire back and stop it.
That's what I'm saying. It's just crazy the kind of world we live in. I mean, I hope everybody out there can go on there to FoxNews.com to look at this picture. It's just crazy to look at.
You know, there are cameras everywhere. I got mixed emotions about that. You know, are we becoming Big Brother? But they come in handy in crime investigations. But police can almost always find some camera shot of, you know, perpetrators breaking into a house or you know, committing a crime now.
One of the worst things that could ever happen to mankind is for religious ministers and staff bring weapons to work with them. You think it'll ever get to be that bad? I sure hope not.
Well, it's just a different world, man.
Yeah, it's
well, you know, like your mama just said, they do have hired security at all these big places, I'm sure.
well, that's
Well, you know, I mean, that's what's changed so much now with schools. You know, they have an actual deputy on staff at each school now, every school.
more than one. Yeah, at many schools.
Well, the big game is coming up. Why are they waiting 13 days to play the game?
That's just what happens. Usually Alabama, unfortunately, only had about 9.
Yeah, last year.
Last year.
13
So
days until the big game. Is that right? What's the date of the game?
Yeah, it's right. Yeah, I think that's the way the calendar fell.
I want to say it's the 11th. I have to look at 2.
11th. Of course, the sun is shining right here out there on the beach now. It's turning into Emerald Coast. So you can
actually it's January the 13th in New Orleans. LSU will have, I would say, the home field advantage.
Gosh,
you know, it would be fun just to go down there, you know, and be around all that.
well, there'll be 40,000 people that'll probably do that. remember last time when Alabama played LSU in 2011 for the national championship?
Yeah.
I was told that there were about 40,000 people that were down in the French Quarter in New Orleans that did not even have tickets for the game.
Yeah, I went to that game, and when Alabama won that game, of course LSU fans were devastated. They thought that was one of the best LSU teams ever, and I mean it was almost like watching a grown man crying walking out of that stadium. It was rough on LSU fans because that was
But you know
one of
what?
the worst beat downs ever, 21-0.
They didn't have a quarterback. If they'd had a good quarterback like they do now, they would probably won both those games. They always had talent.
Yeah.
They had Jefferson at quarterback, and I don't even think LSU made it past midfield in that game.
Oh yeah, it was terrible, no question. You know, you asked Bill. You asked earlier, would Alabama and they would have put on a better show to me than Oklahoma.
Auburn only lost to LSU by 3 points at LSU. Auburn defense only allowed 23 points, which was the lowest by far LSU gave up. And then Alabama proved that they can almost match them for scoring. So it's two different approaches. Auburn's defense could hang with them, and Alabama's offense could hang with them.
That's why I just love this game, the game with Auburn and Minnesota. I love Auburn in this situation. I just think Auburn's front will just completely shut down
I do too.
Minnesota's run attack. I think Auburn just wins this game in a big way.
Well, you got Alabama -7 over under 58, Auburn -7 over under 54. So if you like Alabama, you like Auburn, you do a 2-game tease, you should be good.
Or a 2-team parlay.
A 2-team parlay, yeah. I will say this.
But the Big Ten is undefeated in bowl games except for Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the Sun Belt's done pretty well for the bowl game so far.
Yeah, Sunbelt should win. Lafayette should win big in the Mobile Bowl. And I want to say there's one more game.
Yeah, Wyoming is playing
It's Wyoming, Georgia State.
Yeah. You know, so if Troy would have won 7 games, we would be getting all this exposure because the Lafayette game is going to be on the 8th or 9th? So what's the date of that?
That's late.
It's the last game of the bowl season before the national
All right,
championship.
well, and no competition or anything, Troy would have gotten more exposure. Of course,
Troy didn't win enough. Troy had 6 wins. Even if they would have gotten to 6 wins, they probably would have been in the Camellia Bowl because I think Lafayette would have had a choice winning their division to play in Mobile. No, Lafayette won 10 games.
Yeah.
And Lafayette kept their coach Napier, right?
Yeah, I was surprised. Napier, I thought he would go to a bigger job.
Well, he'll go there eventually.
I'll tell you this right now, there's no question that Appalachian State was a very good football team. And I heard people say that Appalachian State did not play in the SEC. There's no question in my mind that Appalachian State could beat Vanderbilt. I think Appalachian State could beat Mississippi State. I think Appalachian State could have beat
Ole Miss, maybe.
Ole Miss, no question.
Arkansas, they beat them.
Appalachian State and Arkansas, they would have.
And we know they could beat South Carolina because they did it.
Oh,
Yeah, they beat South Carolina.
They would have beat them. They did beat South Carolina. You're right. So
And they beat North Carolina.
They could have played with pretty much everybody, about at least half the SEC teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was shocking. They lost on a Thursday night in a cold sleet to Georgia Southern, and just didn't show up on offense.
They were flat. Yep.
Got to be 24-21, and they could have easily gone undefeated.
Well, we're moving right along, and it
Tells you how impressive that coaching job is. The guy goes in, first-year head coach, and wins the Sun Belt and goes 12-1. He gets a Missouri job, and then they get a job to the offensive line coach, and he wins. That's just an unbelievable program in the middle of nowhere.
Well, the offensive line coach became the head football coach. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, his first win was against UAB.
But I tell you what, it's not. I think Sunbelt's getting better and better, and I think Troy's going to have to. Of course, they had a great recruiting year, and I think it's going to be fun to watch this Troy team. I really do.
So have y'all been?
Basketball had a big win yesterday as well. Nate Oaks has won 4 out of the last 5 or 5 out of the last 6, and they beat a really good Richmond team that was 10-2 yesterday by 14.
Well, Richmond had a big guy. I watched a lot of that game. They had a big guy, Mike, that was really good.
It was real fun to watch. So they're pressing up and down the court, shooting threes, and scoring a lot of points. I think Oates is going to be a good coach.
Oh, so he does have this fun system to watch. Well, you're right. They're on a little run. They started off poorly, and I was writing them off, but maybe I need to start paying more attention, huh?
They got a young guy named Shackelford that's a freshman that scored 28 yesterday. That's really good shooting.
You know what we need to do, Bill? You know what we need to do?
Go up there and
leave out of here about noon one day and stop up at Jim's Barbecue and eat a couple of those big deluxe barbecues.
Let's do it.
And we'll go to Bryant Hall and we'll go visit all the places up there and so forth, and then watch a basketball game and come home.
Yeah, we'll meet my little brother Bobby up there since he lives up there now.
It'll be a lot of fun. You're right.
Well, why don't you go to the Coliseum Club, Dad, like we used to, and you can eat all you can eat stadium dogs.
I think we might can. Bill, you ought to be able to handle that. Through Bobby, don't you know?
I've had some great times at Bama basketball games back in the heyday of Wimp Sanderson.
In fact, Bill, I think you can handle it all. I would think Bobby could get a ticket if he works for the Tuscaloosa News.
He can do it. He knows Kirk McNair.
What is his job title?
It used to be called publisher. Now they call him general manager. So he's the top dog at the Tuscaloosa News.
That sounds pretty big to me. The general manager of the Tuscaloosa News.
Why don't you get
the news is now has the largest the subscribers in Birmingham, don't they?
Probably do. I mean,
Birmingham News is only 3 days a week.
Birmingham News is awful. The newspapers. I was reading the book about Nazi Germany of all things, right when Hitler took over, and I'm reading the book, and it's about the U.S. ambassador to Germany that went over there, and the family in their daughter keeps having affairs with all these people, but she's meeting all of these correspondents. That every newspaper, it seems like in America, has a correspondent in all these European capitals and big cities. I told my wife, I said, how many newspapers even have one foreign correspondent today? I mean, if y'all thought about that, I mean, it used to be that
would really stun you. At one time, you had the Birmingham News, and then you had the Post Herald, which were both two. Post Herald was that newspaper. But those writers that wrote for both those the papers were like celebrities.
Yep.
I mean, they probably had 7 or 8 on both papers, both stands. And of course, you heard.
Yeah, Skarbinsky and Feinbaum going up against each other, and then you had Clyde Bolton.
Right.
You had a bunch of different people.
And then you had the great Benny Marshall, who was the old great one, and then Alf Van Hoos was up there, and
I played golf with Alf Van Hoos one time. He was a nice guy.
Did you know, man?
Yeah.
He's the one that I'm gonna say it again. He was asked one day who was the greatest running back of all time, and he said, "Well, Tony Nathan was awfully good, Johnny Musso was awfully good, and Wilbur Jackson was awfully good." Then they got around to Alf Van Hoos and asked the legendary Alf Van Hoos, who is the greatest running back in Alabama history, and he said, "Listen, y'all, I'll take the orphan boy from Troy any day of the week, Bobby Marlowe." Now, I got chill bumps running down both arms just talking about it.
Yeah, good for Alf Van Hoos.
I'll take the orphan boy from Troy any day of the week.
You notice that
I noticed in Troy, does Troy honor Bobby Marlowe anywhere?
They've got a building named after him over there.
Was that at Charles Center? Was it the Marlowe room?
the field house, that's the weightlifting room.
That was it. But I don't know if they got a name on the outside. they need to do something.
My dad was involved in that when they did it. Named the field house the Marlowe field house. But you're right, Mike. There needs to be more.
You know, I talked to Hootie Ingram, the old former Alabama athletic director. He was also up with Bobby Bowden at Florida State for all those years. I was at a baseball game, and we were sitting with him. They were talking ball. And he said, you know, I played safety back when I played safety. And he said, I didn't really worry about much because I knew this. You know, Bobby Marlowe was the linebacker playing in front of me. He said, I didn't ever have to worry about making a tackle. Bobby made every one of them. They said he was the first pure All-American, AP All-American as a linebacker and as a running back.
I think he was the Herschel Walker and Bo Jackson of his day in the mid-'50s, early '50s.
Oh, yeah.
Now, they didn't carry the ball as much, but his average per carry, I still think he holds the record at Alabama for most yards per carry.
He rushed for 245 yards against Auburn. 245 yards against Auburn. And against Georgia Tech, I think he rushed close to 300 yards against Georgia Tech. He's in there. He's in the Georgia Tech Hall of Fame for opponents.
Was he as good as everybody's All-American at LSU, Billy Cannon?
Yeah, I would say.
Bum, 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 bum.
He wasn't the Heisman Trophy candidate for some reason like he was, but I can't imagine Billy Cannon being a better runner than Bobby Marlowe.
Bobby Marlowe was better than Billy Cannon. You're right. He was better than Billy Cannon.
You know, getting back to newspapers.
What about John David Crow, the Snake, and Broadway Joe?
Yeah, they were all good.
Did you see that they have the?
I was going into a song there, Dad. You know that song?
No, what's the song?
David Crow, the Snake, and Broadway Joe.
No. Oh, yeah.
I saw that they named the.
Bear of Alabama's on Mike Amos's jukebox in Troy, Alabama, if you ever want to hear it.
That's right. That's right. No question about it.
They named the 100 all-time NFL players, and Bart Starr, Joe Namath, and Kenny Stabler didn't make it at the quarterback position, which is not surprising, really.
Yeah.
It was a Johnny U.
About Marlowe played in Canada, and back then he actually got more money to play in Canada. So he went to Canada and became a household word in Canadian football. You know, I think he played for the Rough Riders, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and he was a legend there. But he signed, he was drafted by the Giants, the New York Giants. And don't you know that if he would have played with the Giants in New York, he would have been a household word, believe you me. Don't you agree?
Yeah. What would have been? He would have.
That seems like that was a poor decision as far as what he could have made play off the field.
Yeah.
I know it. You're right. He would played all his games at Yankee Stadium. That's where the Giants played all their games, and they had the great teams with Y.A. Tittle and Frank Gifford. He would play with all those guys. He would play with Frank Gifford and all of them. You might not have ever heard of Frank Gifford if he hadn't gone to Canada. Hey,
Yeah.
I know he could outrun Frank Gifford.
Yeah, you're right.
They said he could fly. They said he was about a 9'9" guy, and that was real fast back those days.
Well, he was about 200 pounds, wasn't he? And he ran with those real high knees, and it was just been terrifying to try to tackle him.
Yeah, right.
I wonder what happened when he went to Canada. Why he never tried to go back to the NFL? Did he get injured?
I don't know. I think they paid him good money, and they were trying to keep the good players, and so they paid him real good money, I think.
I mean, locally,
Troy built a bowling alley when he came back to Troy.
Locally, Troy products. I mean, do we ever have anybody from Troy High or Charles Anderson High School that's ever played actually in a pro game?
That's a good question. My dad played in some preseason games, but he never played in the regular season games. So I am going to say no.
I mean, I know St. K. Pennington didn't get drafted. He didn't go into the pros.
I don't think we ever had one in the pros.
I'm trying to think of somebody just actually from Troy, Alabama, that played in the NFL game.
Dad.
We've had a couple of guys from Troy University, but not from Troy, Alabama.
Many Troy University guys, but I'm just trying to think of somebody actually.
Well, let's name them from Brundage. You've got Fred Baxter, Cornelius Griffin.
Quincy Jackson.
Well, he played. He's like Dad. He played in some preseason games.
Quincy Jackson was on the roster for the Bengals.
Did he make it in the regular season? Did he make it? I thought he got cut right before.
He played in games. Yeah.
All right. Quincy Jackson then. There's that bit.
How about Goshen? Did our guy that played it?
Mike Pelton.
Mike Pelton. I don't know if he played in the NFL.
He got drafted or had a chance.
Yeah. And
so as far as I know, that's a no.
Yeah.
It was hard to make that. You know, when Dad played, it was the rosters were only like 37, 38 players, so there weren't many spots. And then you only had like 12 or 14 teams. So now they got 30 teams, and the rosters are 50 players. So it was there weren't many available spots.
You know, Nick Walker that played at Pike County, with Nixon was a great, not great, but a really good tight end at Alabama, but I don't think he played in the pros either.
But Lou Byrne might have had one, the old coach. Did he play in the pros?
Coach Norman was Coach Norman was an all-star in Canada.
Norman, yeah, he played in Canada. Coach Norman did, yeah. But that was
that's something you need to look up, Bill. That'd be a good article to write.
I don't think there's any player that was born and bred in Troy, Alabama, that has played in the regular season NFL game. In the Major League Baseball, we've had
Major League Baseball. Brian Meadows played 7 years.
And then in the NBA, no. So Brian Meadows is on.
Troy University. This is an amazing stat. Troy State and Troy University basketball has never had one guy play in the NBA.
That is amazing. Yeah.
Right. There's no question about it.
Of
course, Andalusia had Big Shot Bob.
Yeah, they had Robert Horry. Small town Brantley had 2.
Yeah, Brantley had 2.
And they had two NBA All-Stars. That's still one of the more amazing stories ever.
In fact, a person, the stick person they call him, he led the NBA in 3-pointers for 2 years in a row. That was pretty good there, too.
Now Wesley is playing in the G League, so he'll have a chance.
Yeah.
That's the minor league. That's the minor league to the NBA. I still think Bernardo is a guy that might end up in the NBA one day that played at Troy.
Yeah, I don't know where he is now, but
Jordan Bernardo is probably making a lot of money overseas right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good.
No question about it.
What about the guy that was so good that played Marvin Barron? He didn't get a shot in the NFL, did he?
I don't think he did. Marvin was a good player, but he was in a car wreck. It's junior or senior year. I want to say junior year. He was in a car wreck, and he never was the same. He played offensive and defensive lineman at Alabama. He was a good versatile player.
Zach Effridge was a 3-year starter at Auburn. He never played in the NFL that I know of. Almost positive. He got an outside chance. He got an outside chance now with Richard McBride. I know he's had injury issues, but he put up really big numbers at SMU. He might have a chance to get drafted.
Yeah.
Play in the NFL.
That's a good point.
He didn't go through that. Could he go through the? That all these guys are going through now to be able to get play right away.
No, he's already played right away. He went through the transfer portal and had a great year at SMU.
Yeah, he'll also have the chance to play in the XFL now.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of
senior year.
Yeah, I was his senior year at SMU. I'm just trying to think of who else. The 5-star lineman came out of Charles Henderson, but I think only started a few games in Alabama. Vaughn Ewing, I know he didn't start, never played in the NFL.
Vaughn Ewing would have been the closest thing that Troy has ever had of having a guy in the NFL because he was such a big lineman. He was voted the most valuable lineman in the state of Alabama his senior year.
He was a 5-star.
Went to Alabama. Huh?
He was a 5-star.
Oh yeah, he was a five-star.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anybody else. Can you think of anybody else?
No. I thought about this because I think Dad's the close. Dad got
So your dad's the closest, you think?
he played in all the preseason games. He played with
He played Miami, didn't he?
no, he played with the Houston Oilers, and he was
Houston Oilers.
and he played. Who was the old quarterback that also kicked? Blanda. Blanda was the quarterback. He played with Billy Cannon. Was a teammate of his at the Houston Oilers.
You know, Cannon was. I think he was the oldest player in the history of the NFL.
But Dad got cut after the last preseason game. I don't know how many preseason games they played back then. And he didn't mind. I think he made more money. He became an officer in the Army, and he had some money from the Senior Bowl, and he was about tired of playing football. And he hurt his knee too. He was playing with a bum knee. But that just
He was a good one.
that just shows you how hard it is. It's hard to start for an SEC football team and then make a pro league. You know it's harder than that.
It'll be a lot easier now because there's so many teams now compared to back when
Well, you're right. You got more roster spots. That is true.
your major leagues are the same way. You know, you made it to the major leagues back in those old days. You were really, really good.
That's right, because there's so few teams. Think about this. I think it's even harder to make a living on the pro golf tour or the tennis tour. I was thinking about this the other night for another story I'm working on. How many people have a PGA playing card? Probably 200, 250. That's in the world. Now you've got, how many roster spots are there in the NFL? 50 times 30 teams. That's 1,500 people that are playing pro football. There's only 250 or 300 that are playing pro golf.
Yeah, if you're on the PGA Tour, they take the top 125 every year.
So,
Top 125 plays on the tour, then you have alternates, then you have the European Tour, and then you have the other tours.
and you're competing against, not just in football, you're competing against 20-year-old to 28-year-olds, basically. Golf, you can play golf up until your mid-40s, so you're competing.
If you look at it, we don't have that many golfers from around here that have played in pro golf either. You know.
Well, I mean, the kid that was born and lived on Crow Hill, then moved to Montgomery, the Hamrick kid, played in the U.S. Open, and he's still playing on the mini tours, but he never has even made it on the web.com tour.
That's right. And that shows you, he's a great golfer. That shows you how
We're
hard
talking about the PGA Tour card. That is awfully hard to get.
I know, that's what I'm saying, how tough it is. I mean, he was an All-American in Alabama, I think.
he was a great golfer, and he shot the low round in the U.S. Open one time. You know, he qualified for the U.S. Open right out of college. But then, it's just so dang hard to even make the Nike Mini Tour. And then those guys have no guaranteed salary. If you're a golfer, you got to make money. You got to make the cut to pay your caddy and pay your travel expenses. So I think in many ways, golf is the toughest pro sport. Is really the point I'm trying to make.
I think that's what people don't appreciate. People don't appreciate the greatness of Brian Meadows, I don't think. I mean, I talk about it all the time on the show. I mean, the guy was in the major leagues at 20 or 21 years old and set the rookie wins record for the Marlins. So, I mean, it's still amazing to think about what he did. I think people from Troy just don't talk about it enough. Because Troy's the biggest baseball crazy town I've ever seen.
I was listening to a game one night between the Mariners Miami team, or Florida Marlins, and the Braves. And Maddox was pitching for the Braves, and they went 10 innings, or 9, I don't know. Ryan, I think, went 9, and Maddox went 10, and it was a tie ball game when Brian left the game. I think it was 1-0, 1-1, something like that, 1-1. And once he left the game, they lost. Atlanta scored, the next inning, won a game. But that was one of the great games that Meadows ever pitched.
I think I remember that one too. God, to go up against Craig Maddox, wow!
Yeah, I mean, Brian ended up closing games late in his career with the Tampa Bay Rays. I think he had 12, 14 saves one season. He won close to 50 games in the major leagues and pitched several years. I just think people in Troy, because they're so baseball fanatical and they think their kids are all going to play college ball and go play pro ball, but nobody's ever really come close.
Yeah, the odds of doing it are just infinitesimal. You're right.
All right, I'll talk to y'all later. I'm about to head your way, Dad.
All right, well, let me tell you something. Before you get off, I'll tell you the key to Brian Meadows was his demeanor. He never let anything bother him, even when he played in the pros. He was so cool. That was what was special about him. He did not ever get
Flustered.
where he couldn't handle the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't get rattled, right?
Even as a little league ball player, you remember he never struck out. I mean, he except one ball game, and that was because we kept him out of the game. You know, you remember that?
Well, we drove him back from the beach to play the game.
He went to Florida with a bunch of you.
Yeah, he rode back with us, and you were probably in his head the whole time on the way home.
That's right.
Well,
All right, man. I'll see y'all.
well, in the major leagues, you're also not competing against just Americans. You're competing against players from all over the world, especially Central America, Caribbean.
Yeah, I wonder what percentage of the Major League ball players are not from America. You're right.
Hispanic.
It's almost half.
I bet it's about 30 or 40%. You're right.
It's close. It's close. No question.
Yeah.
Bryce, I appreciate you sitting in today, and if you'll hang with us at the end of the show, I'd like to talk to you a second.
All right. Well, I'm just getting warmed up. Let's go another hour and a half.
Okay. Does it look like it right now?
No.
Where do we stand?
We got 2 minutes left.
Okay. Well, listen, it's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate you handling that from your end, and hope you folks out there enjoyed it. And, of course, we're going to shut it down for a couple of days, but we'll be back with you
First of the year.
to talk about
Well, we'll be back.
big games coming up.
So it sounds like next time we see everybody live will be the year 2020, if the good Lord's willing.
That's right. That's right. No question about it.
And
Listen, we appreciate you very much, my friend. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching today in L.A. Happy New Year.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
At Marguerite's, we've been designing and crafting custom jewelry for 4 generations. It's an art for master jewelers. There's really no room for error. It doesn't matter how big the diamond is. You don't expect anything less than perfection. What matters is quality, beauty, and value. After all these decades, your engagement ring is still our greatest pride. Marguerite's exquisite jewelry.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store